Good morning, football fans. Big Al here on this Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. And I welcome you to another edition of the Week That Was, where I run down all the team statistical numbers from Week 10 in the National Football League. And it was a crazy week, to say the least. The Vikings pulled one out against the Bills in overtime. The Eagles are no longer undefeated. And the Packers also winning in overtime this week. That's just some of the action we'll cover this week. Also coming up towards the end, I'll update the NFL standings and unveil my Week 11 power rankings. So with that, let's dive into week number 10 of the week that was in the NFL. And we're starting off, as always, with the Thursday night game. That was the Atlanta Falcons at the Carolina Panthers, who played 11 days earlier in Atlanta, and the Falcons ended up winning a thriller in OT. No thriller this time, as the Panthers won this going away 25-15. The Panthers came in number 30 in my Week 10 power rankings. The Falcons were number 18. All right, starting off with the Falcons. They ran 55 offensive plays, 30 passes, 25 runs. The Panthers ran 63 plays, 16 passes, and 47 runs. Total yards were 333 for the Panthers, 291 for the Falcons. Pass yards were 153 Atlanta, 101 Carolina. But it was the Panthers' ground attack that really sealed this one, as Carolina ran for 232 yards, and yes, that's a season high, versus the Atlanta Falcons' 138. First downs favored Atlanta, 20-18. The Falcons now have 196 through 10 games. The Panthers 147. Atlanta finished 3 of 11 on third down for 27.3%, 0 for 1 on fourth down. And for the year, they're 48 of 111 on third down, 2 of 5 on fourth down. Carolina was 6 of 15 for 40% on third down, and thus far this year, 34 of 128. And no fourth down plays. The Panthers were hit with the penalties hard. They had 10 for 89 yards. They now have 60 total for 541. The Falcons, 4 penalties for 37 yards on Thursday night, and 43 total for 347. Time of possession favors the Carolina Panthers, 36 minutes and 16 seconds versus 23 minutes and 44 seconds for the Falcons. So the Panthers are in ball hawk territory. A ball hawk, if you're new here, is a team that possesses the ball for at least 35 minutes in a game, win or lose. Taking a look at the defensive numbers from this game. 8 tackles, 0 solo for the Atlanta Falcons. They now have 426 and 135. They had 1 sack in this game. That's their 12th of the year. The second fewest of any team in the NFL. No fumbles forced, so they stay at 5. They had 4 passes defended in this game. That's 46 now on the season. No interceptions or touchdowns, so they stay with INTs and 1 score. The Panthers defense also had 38 tackles, but they also had 6 solo tackles. So now their totals are 449 and 171. They would sack Marcus Mariota 5 times in this game, bringing their sack total to 19. They also forced no fumbles in this game, so they stay at 5 as well. And they also have 4 passes defended, bringing their total on the year to 37. They added 1 more interception to their total that brings them to 7, along with 3 defensive touchdowns. Closing line in this game and point spreads and totals are courtesy of the Sports Alerts app. Is Atlanta minus 2.5, and the over-under was 41.5. I took the Falcons to win 24-16, and I had Atlanta covering the 2.5 points as the visiting favorite. Carolina wins this one both straight up and against the spread by 10 points. So I lost both picks. So I'm 0-1 straight up and 0-1 against the spread. Now to the Sunday schedule and our first game ever played in Germany, as the Seattle Seahawks and Tampa Bay Buccaneers squared off in Munich on Sunday morning. And Tom Brady must love playing these international games because his team wins again as the Bucs take this one 21-16. Seattle came in number 15 in my Week 10 power rankings. Tampa Bay number 17. All right, the Seahawks offense ran 47 plays, 33 passes, and only 14 runs. The Buccaneers ran 75 plays, 30 passes, and 45 runs. Total yards were 419 for the Bucs, 283 for the Seahawks. Passing yards, 258 for Tampa Bay to Seattle. And rushing yards, huge edge to Tampa in this one, 161-39. As the Bucs defense limited Seahawks ground attack to about 2.8 yards per rush attempt. First downs also favored the Buccaneers, 26-19. Seahawks now have 206 through 10 games. The Buccaneers have 204. Big reason why Seattle lost this game, third downs. They were 1 for 9 in this game at 11.1%. And on the year, 54-116. But they were a perfect 2 for 2 on fourth down. Tampa Bay, solid on third down, 10 of 15, 66.7%. And on the year, 56 of 143 and no fourth down plays. For the year on fourth down, Seattle is 6 of 11. Tampa Bay is 5 of 11. The Seahawks had 6 penalties for 46 yards, 72 on the season for 608. And the Buccaneers had 4 penalties for 40 yards and 55 total for 453. Time of possession was 36 minutes and 55 seconds for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I should say. 24 minutes, 14 seconds for the Seahawks. So Tampa Bay is in ball hawk territory. Defensively, the Seahawks had 57 tackles, 42 solo. Totals are now 501 and 285. They were not able to put Tom Brady on the turf, so they stay at 26 sacks for the season. No forced fumbles in this game. They remain with an NFL leading 5th. 4 passes defensed in this game. That gives them 43. But they did manage to pick off Tom Brady twice. So 2 more interceptions for them gives the Seahawks 7 with 1 touchdown. The Tampa Bay defense, 39 tackles, 26 solo. Totals are 423 and 206. They got the Geno Smith, though, as they sacked them through. Tampa Bay's defense now has 32 sacks. One forced fumble in the game. That's their 9th of the year. One pass defensed in this game. That's their 29th. No interceptions or touchdowns. That gives them 6 or keeps them at 6 interceptions and 1 score. Closing line in this game was Tampa Bay minus 2.5 over under 45. I had initially taken the Seahawks, but then I noticed that Tom Brady was playing in this game, so I quickly changed my pick to Tampa Bay. I had them winning this game. And I had them covering the 3 points as well. So, that being said, I won both those picks. All right, now to the traditional Sunday afternoon schedule. We start off with the Cleveland Browns, who are ranked number 24 in my Week 10 power rankings, visiting Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins, ranked number 9. And it was all Miami in this game, and surprise, surprise, the ground game came to life in this one. Dolphins win big, 39-17. The Browns ran 60 offensive plays, 35 passes, 25 runs. Meanwhile, the Dolphins' offensive production evenly split amongst their 66 plays. 33 passes, 33 runs. Miami outgained Cleveland in this game, 491-297. Passing yards were 296-185 for the Dolphins. Rushing yards were 195-112, also advantage to the Dolphins. And first downs were also an edge to Miami, 29-20. The Dolphins now have 216 first downs through 10 games. The Browns have 201 through 9. Cleveland finished 5 of 12 on third down for 41.7%. For the year, they're 50 of 121. And 2 for 5 on fourth down, 40%. And for the season, they are 12 for 21. The Dolphins were 6 of 11 on third down for 54.5%. And for the year, they're 59 for 115. And 1 for 2 on fourth down on the day, 6 of 14 on the season. The Browns had 6 penalties for 52 yards. They now have 57 for 465. 5 penalties, Miami for 45 yards, or rather 43 yards. They now have 63 total flags for 497. Time of possession favored the home team, 33 minutes and 14 seconds for the Dolphins, 26 minutes, 46 seconds for the Browns. As far as defense is concerned, the Browns had 47 tackles, 22 solo. Totals are now 365 and 192. 1 sack on the afternoon on Tua. That's 20 on the season. 4 forced fumbles in the game. They stay at 7. 3 passes defensed. They're at 41 on the year. No interceptions or touchdowns, so they remain with 3 INTs. The Dolphins defense had 37 tackles, 6 solo. Totals are 423 and 181. They would sack Jacoby Brissett 3 times, which brings their total to 20. They forced their 6th fumble of the season. They also had 7 passes defended in this game, bringing their total to 41, matching them with the Browns. They, too, had no interceptions or touchdowns, keeping them at 4 INTs. And the closing line in this game was Miami minus 3.5, and the over-under was 49.5. I took the Dolphins to win overall. I took the Dolphins to win straight up, but I picked the Browns to cover the point spread. But Miami easily wins this game by 22 points. So I got the straight up pick and I lost the ATS pick. So now I'm 2-1 straight into ATS. Our next game is the Denver Broncos at the Tennessee Titans. And I had changed my pick in this game because I initially went with the Broncos because I assumed that Mike Tannehill or Ryan Tannehill wasn't going to play, but he did play. So based on that, I ended up changing my pick. I'll tell you about it in just a sec. Anyway, the Titans do win this game 17-10. The Broncos ran 67 offensive plays, 42 passes, 25 runs. The Tennessee Titans ran 58 plays, 36 passes, and only 22 runs. Both teams nearly at the same amount of yards. Advantage went to Denver, 313 total yards of offense to 307 for the Titans. Passing yards, 248 for Denver, 244 for the Titans. And rush yards, there were not a lot of them in this game, but Denver had the slight advantage here too, 65-63. They also had the edge in first down, 18-14. So the Broncos, through 9 games, now have 154 first downs. The Titans have 139. Neither team all that great on third down. 4 of 17 for the Broncos for 23.5% and 37 of 130 for the season. And 6 of 16 for Tennessee, 37.5%. On the year, they're 37 for 110. Denver was 2 for 3 on fourth down, 8 for 15 on the season. No fourth down plays for the Titans, so they stay at 3 for 5. A lot of penalties in this game, 17 total. 8 by the Broncos for 50 yards. They now have a league high 78 for 651. And 9 penalties for Tennessee for 60 yards. Gives them 62 penalties for 492 yards. Time of possessions, 33 minutes, 57 seconds for Denver, 26 minutes, 3 seconds for Tennessee. The Broncos defense, 39 tackles, 12 solo. Totals are now 385 and 162. They did boast a sack on Ryan Tannehill. That's their 24th of the year. 1 forced fumble in this game, 13th of the season. 8 passes defended. That brings their total to 41. And no INTs or touchdowns. They're still stuck at 5 interceptions. The Titans defense, 47 tackles and 20 solo. Totals are 417 and 207. How about this? They sacked Russell Wilson. I'll get it right. They sacked Russell Wilson 6 times in this game. They now have 29 sacks on the season. They also forced the fumble in this game, their 8th of the year. 7 passes defense by this Tennessee defense. That gives them 39. And they added another interception, their 9th of the season, to go along with a defensive score. Closing line in this game was Tennessee minus 2.5, and the over-under was 39.5. Again, I initially took the Broncos to win because I assumed that Tannehill was going to be out. But when they announced that he was going to play, I quickly changed my pick to the Titans. So I had Tennessee winning this one, actually 24-17, and I had Tennessee cover the 2.5 points. Because I initially had Denver winning both straight up and against the spread. But again, I changed my picks because of Ryan Tannehill. Good thing I did. 3-1 ATS, or 3-1 straight up, and now 2-2 ATS. Oh, as far as the power rankings are concerned, the Broncos were ranked 22nd, the Titans 13th. Moving on to the Detroit Lions at the Chicago Bears. Whoever loses this game was going to be sitting in last place in the NFC North. And that team ends up being the Chicago Bears. As Detroit posted a fourth quarter comeback, which included a pick six, as the Lions win this one 31-30. And how about this? Lions head coach Dan Campbell gets his first road win with the Lions. Took him that long to win a road game. All right. And neither of these teams were ranked high in my power rankings. The Lions were number 26. The Bears were number 31. All right. 57 total plays for Detroit. 26 passes, 31 runs. 55 total plays for Chicago. 20 passes and 35 runs. Total yards favored the Bears, 408 to 323. Passing yards favored the Lions, 228, 150. But the Chicago Bears had the huge advantage on the ground, pretty much as they always do. 258 rushing yards for Chicago versus Detroit's 95. The Lions had the edge in first downs, 25 to 19. Both are pretty close in terms of total first downs. 191 for the Lions through 9 games, 181 for the Bears through 10. Lions were 5 for 11 on third down at 45.5%. On the season, 42 for 105. And 1 for 1 on fourth down. On the season, they're now 10 for 23. The Chicago Bears were 6 of 11 on third down, 54.5%. On the season, 64 for 135. And 0 for 1 on fourth down. And for the season, 6 of 15. Only 2 penalties in the game for Detroit for 15 yards. That's 53 total for 436. And Chicago had 7 penalties for 86 yards. 54 total for 511. Time of possession is 30 minutes, 48 seconds for Detroit. 29 minutes, 12 seconds for Chicago. Taking a look at the defenses. 47 tackles, 31 solo tackles for the Lions defense. Totals are now 432 and 245. 3 sacks on Justin Fields on Sunday gives them 15. They forced their 9th fumble this season. 4 passes defended in this game gives them 29. And of course, we got to talk about that pick 6, which gives them now 6 interceptions and their first defensive touchdown. The Chicago defense had 46 tackles, 34 solo. Totals are 424 and 212. They would sack Jared Goff twice, and they matched the Lions with 15 sacks here in 2022. No fumbles in the game for the Bears defense. They stay at 8. 2 passes defended. That's 33 on the season. No interceptions or touchdowns. So Chicago's D remains with 9 INTs. Closing line is Chicago -3. Over-under is 48. Took the Bears to win 31-24. And to cover the spread, I lost both picks. So now I'm 3-2 straight up, 2-3 ATS. Moving on to the Houston Texans at the New York Giants. This is number 32 versus number 7. And the Texans, you got to give them their props. They kept it close. They just couldn't seem to get over that hump. They were in the red zone at least 3 or 4 times in this game and couldn't punch it into the end zone, unfortunately. And all those missed red zone opportunities cost the Texans as they lose this game 24-16. And how about the New York Football Giants, now 7-2 on the season? Houston ran 56 offensive plays, 37 passes, 19 runs. The Giants ran 64 offensive plays, 17 passes, and 47 runs. Total yards were a slight advantage to the Houston Texans, 387 to 367. Passing yards also favored Houston, 286 to 176. But rushing-wise, those yards went to New York, 191 for the Giants, 101 for the Texans. Texans at the edge on first downs, 22 to 19. Houston now has 156 through 9. The Giants have 182 through 9. Houston just 3 of 10 on third down in this game for 30%. For the year, they're 35 for 113. And the Giants hit half of their third downs. They were 7 of 14 for 50%. No fourth down plays for either team. The Giants are now 49 of 120 on third down. And on fourth down, the Texans remain 5 of 10. Giants remain 2 for 6. Houston had 7 penalties for 40 yards. They now have 50 total for 378. New York had 5 penalties for 24 yards and 59 total for 451. Time of possession was 33 minutes and 20 seconds for the Giants, 26 minutes and 40 seconds for the Texans. Defensively, the Texans recorded 53 tackles, 20 solo. Totals are 439 and 219. They sacked Daniel Jones 3 times, so they are up to 23. No fumbles in the game for the Houston defense. They stay at 6. Only 1 pass defense on the afternoon for the Texans. That's 34 on the year. And they remain at 7 interceptions after not recording one this week. The Giants defense, 38 tackles, 12 solo. Totals are 359 and 158. But boy, they brought the house on Davis Mills, sacking him 4 times, bringing their total to 19. They forced another fumble in this game. That's number 13. 6 passes defense in this one. That's 39 for the Giants defense. And they added just their second interception of the season, and this would seal the game with about 7 seconds left. Closing line was New York -5, or rather, that was the line when I wrote it down. The closing line is New York -4.5, and the over-under was 41.5. So if you look at the total points in this game, 40, this game finished just under that total. I picked the Giants to win and to cover what was a 5-point spread, which went down to 4.5. Doesn't matter. They won by 8, so I got both picks. So I'm now 4-2 straight up and 3-3 ATS. Okay, we're on to the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Kansas City Chiefs. Jacksonville number 27 in my Week 10 power rankings. Kansas City number 2. The Chiefs do win this game 27-17, but I want to say something. Trevor Lawrence looked pretty good in that game. Aside from being sacked a bunch of times, he took care of the football, which is the most important thing. But anyway, I digress. The Jaguars offense ran 56 plays, 40 passes, 16 runs. Chiefs ran 62 plays, 35 passes, 27 runs. Total yards 486 for Kansas City, 315 for Jacksonville. Passing yards 331 to 240 also to Kansas City. Likewise with the rushing. 155 yards for the Chiefs versus 75 for the Jaguars. First downs also favored KC, 26-17. Chiefs now have 226 first downs through 9. Jaguars 220 through 10. Jacksonville not good on third down, 4 of 14 for 28.6%. They're now 53 of 126 on the season. Kansas City real good on third down, 7 of 10, 70%. And on the season, 56 for 108. Fourth downs, Jacksonville 2 of 2, 9 for 19 on the season. KC 1 for 1, 4 of 8 for the season. There are only 5 penalties in this game, and all of them went to the Jaguars. 5 for 30 yards. They now have 59 for 444. Kansas City did not have a single penalty in this game, which I find kind of odd. So they stay at 47 flags for 459 yards. Time of possession favored the Kansas City Chiefs, 30 minutes, 32 seconds to 29 minutes and 28 seconds. All right. Defensively, the Jaguars ran 46 tackles or had 46 tackles, 35 of those solo. Totals are 425 and 188. No sacks on the afternoon by this Jags defense, so they stay at 16. They forced 2 fumbles in this game, numbers 6 and 7. And a couple passes defended for the Jaguar defense brings their league leading total to 61 through 10 weeks. And they added another interception, their 9th of the season, along with a defensive touchdown. As for Kansas City's defense, 40 tackles, 8 solo. Totals are 378 and 153. They had 5 sacks on Trevor Lawrence, bringing their total to 27. No fumbles in the game. They're stuck at 7. 5 passes defensed. They stay at, or they go to 41. And they remain with 3 interceptions and 1 touchdown that they're recording neither in this game. Closing line is Kansas City minus 9.5, and the over-under is 51.5. I picked Kansas City to win straight up 27-21. But I took Jacksonville to cover the 9.5 points, but they ended up losing by 10. So unfortunately, I lost that ATS pick. So now I'm 3 of 4 against the spread. But I'm 5 and 2. But I'm 5 and 2 straight up. If you're joining me late, welcome to the week that was. We're running down the statistical numbers from week 10 in the NFL. Coming up, the updated NFL standings and my week 11 power rankings. All that coming up, so stay with me. Our next game might have been not only the game of the day, but the game of the year. The Minnesota Vikings at the Buffalo Bills. And I'm going to take you through the play-by-play of the last 2 minutes of regulation and overtime, because I want you to get a sense of how good this game was. We'll go to the 3:26 mark of the fourth quarter and start there. So it was Vikings ball. At the 2-minute. And then Kirk Cousins throws a pass that Justin Jefferson caught for 32 yards. And this was Odell Beckham Jr. type stuff here. If you watch the highlights, that catch was pretty sick. Cousins converted a 32-yard pass to Justin Jefferson, who made a ridiculous catch on 4th and 18. Then Cousins passes to Adam Thielen for 9 yards. Bills commit a unnecessary roughness penalty. Cousins would then hit Jefferson down the middle for 14. Bills call a timeout. Then Cousins runs up the middle for a loss of 3, tackled by Jordan Phillips. Another Bills timeout. Then an incomplete pass for Justin Jefferson, but he went back to him on the next play. And gains 5 yards. Bills call their last timeout. And then after that, Buffalo was called for offside. Cousins would then rush up the middle for no gain. He was tackled by Shaq Lawson. And so the Vikings would get the ball after Josh Allen fumbles. Eric Kendricks recovers the fumble in the end zone for a touchdown. They would look at this for a minute. But ultimately, it would give the Vikings the lead at that point. It's 30-27. So the Bills get the ball back with 41 seconds left. The kickoff went for 60 yards. Duke Johnson returns it for 15. Josh Allen would throw to Dustin Knox for 12 yards with 36 seconds left. And then hits Knox again for another 8 yards before the Vikings call a timeout with 24 seconds left. Josh Allen would then throw a pass to Gabe Davis for 20 that put the ball down at the Minnesota 40-yard line with 17 seconds remaining. And then Allen completes a pass for 15 yards to Isaiah McKenzie, I should say. And the Vikings would then be hit with a 14-yard pass interference penalty, which put the ball on the Minnesota 11-yard line. And then Tyler Bass hits a 29-yard field goal to tie the game at 30 and send it to overtime. Right, the Bills would kick the ball off for a touchback. Kirk Cousins would run up the middle for a loss of a yard. And that ended regulation right there. Minnesota gets the ball first in overtime. Dalvin Cook runs to the left for 10 yards. And then to the left again for 9 more. Cousins then throws a pass to Justin Jefferson for 13, which puts the ball at the Bills 43, but then the Vikings were flagged for a false start. So it backed them up to the 48-yard line. Cousins would then be sacked by A.J. Espenza for a loss of 5. Cousins would fumble the ball, but Dalvin Cook recovers the fumble for no gain. The Bills would then commit a 19-yard pass interference penalty, which put the ball all the way to the Buffalo 36. Dalvin rushes to the left 10. He would be tackled by Cam Lewis. Cousins then throws an incomplete pass to the left side for KJ Osborne. The ball at this point is at the Buffalo 26. Cook would rush to the right for no gain, tackled by Bogey Basham. Vikings call a timeout with 5:58 left in OT. On the next play, Cousins hits Justin Jefferson for 24. Then Dalvin Cook rushes to the right for 3, taken down by Matt Milano. Cousins would be sacked again by Ed Oliver and Shaq Lawson for a loss of 10. And then an incomplete pass to the left intended for Adam Thielen. And then Greg Joseph's 33-yard field goal with 3:45 left in overtime put the Vikings up 33-30. So what would the Bills do? Vikings kick off 64 yards. Duke Johnson returns to kick 27 yards to the Bills 28. Josh Allen rushes for 18 yards on first down. And then rushed again for another 20, which put him quickly in Vikings territory on those 2 plays. And then Josh Allen hits former Viking Stephon Diggs for 7 yards. That brought you to the 2-minute warning at that point. Allen would then go back to Diggs for another 7. And then an incomplete pass to the left intended for Dawson Knox. And with 119 left in regulation, or 119 left in overtime, and the ball at the Viking 20, Josh Allen throws a pass into the end zone that was intercepted by Patrick Peterson and returned for 7 yards. And that is your ball game as the Minnesota Vikings defeat the Buffalo Bills by the final score of 33-30 in overtime. Crazy game in Orchard Park this week. All right, the Vikings ran 75 plays, 50 passes, 25 runs. The Bills ran 70 plays, 43 passes, and 27 runs. So you had 63 points and well over 950 total yards. You had 63 points and 967 yards of offense. 486 for Buffalo, 481 for Minnesota. Both teams finished well over 300 yards through the air. 334 for the Vikings, 311 for the Bills. And both over 100 yards rushing. 175 Buffalo, 147 Minnesota. All right, first downs favored Buffalo, 29-24. The Bills have 214 through 9 games. Vikings 198 through 9 games. Vikings were 7-17 on third down for 41.2%. And on the year, they have 51 flags for 321. The Bills 7-13 on third down for 53.8%. 55 for 105. All right, fourth downs, 3 of 5 for the Vikings for 60%. That makes them 8 for 15 on the season. And 0 for 1 for Buffalo, putting them at 6 of 12. Both teams had 7 penalties for 64 yards. The Vikings now have 48 flags for 377. Buffalo has 50 for 359. Time of possession favors Minnesota, and they're barely in ball hawk territory at 35 minutes and 2 seconds. The Bills at 33 minutes and 46 seconds. So that's 3 ball hawks already this week. Sorry about that. Okay. Vikings defense, 59 tackles, 37 solo, 399 and 244. 2 sacks on the afternoon. That gives them 26. They forced the fumble in the game. That's their 7th. 8 passes defended. They're up to 51. They added 2 interceptions, including the game winner in overtime. That's 10 now on the season as far as interceptions go for the Minnesota Vikings. Buffalo Bills defense, 52 tackles, 28 solo. They're at 395 and 191. 4 sacks on the afternoon on Kirk Cousins. Gives them 27 on the season. They also forced the fumble in this game. They're 2nd of the season and 2nd in as many weeks. All right, they had 9, count them, 9 passes defensed in this game. They're up to 52 on the season. And they added 2 more interceptions as well, which brings them to 13, which would be enough to lead the NFL. Okay, the closing line in this game was Buffalo minus 6.5. Over under was 46.5. I took the Bills 26-24. I would lose the straight up pick, but I got the ATS pick right with Minnesota covering the points. And these were the number 4 and number 3 teams in my Week 10 power rankings, the Vikings and the Bills. The final early game on the Sunday schedule was the New Orleans Saints and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this may have been Pittsburgh's best game this year, as they would win this one over the hapless Saints 20-10. New Orleans ran just 43 plays, 28 passes, 15 runs. The Steelers ran 73 plays, 30 passes, 43 runs. Total yards were 379 to 186 to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had the slight advantage in passing yards, 162 to 157, but a huge advantage in rushing yards to the Steelers. How about 217 to 29? First downs were nearly a 3-1 edge to Pittsburgh, 28-10. The Steelers now have 175 through 9 games. The Saints have 192 through 10. The Saints just 3 of 12 on third down for 25%. They're now 52 for 128, 0 for 1 on fourth down, 3 of 7 on the season. The Steelers were 9 of 17 on third downs for 52.9%, and for the year, 45 of 122. And they were 1 for 1 on fourth down, making them a very impressive 9 of 12 in that department this year. All right. The Saints had 10 penalties for 74 yards, so they now have 72 total for 600. Bad day at the office in that department. And 3 penalties for the Steelers for 40 yards. Gives them 54 for 398. Time of possession favors Pittsburgh, 38 minutes, 56 seconds, putting them deep in ball hawk territory, to 21 minutes and 4 seconds for New Orleans. The Saints defense, 58 tackles, 27 solo. Totals are 425 and 202. Despite not having anything going offensively, at least they were able to get some pressure on Kenny Pickett. 6 sacks in this game by the New Orleans. That gives them 29 on the year. They forced a fumble in this game as well, their 8th of the year. And 2 passes defense brings them 31. They remain at 2 interceptions after not recording one this week. Steelers defense at 31 tackles, only 10 solo. Totals are 387 and 177. They would sack Andy Dalton twice, giving their team 17 sacks this year. They forced the fumble as well, their 12th of the year. 4 passes defense gives them 48, and 2 more interceptions gives them 10 with 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line was Pittsburgh minus 1.5, and the over-under was 39. I took the Saints to win, and boy, do I regret it. And I took them to cover as well. And again, I regret that decision. So now let's see. Draw 1. 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 4-2. I'm now 5-4 straight up. And I think I'm 4-5 against the spread. I'll look back at my numbers real quick. 0-1. 1-1. 1-2. 2-2. Yeah, I'm 4-5 against the spread and 5-4 straight up. All right, that brings us to the late games. The Indianapolis Colts at the Las Vegas Raiders. And Jeff Saturday making his NFL. And Jeff Saturday, the former Colts offensive lineman, making his debut as the interim head coach for the Indianapolis Colts after the team fired Frank Reich earlier last week. And his debut is a success as Indy wins 25-20. And at this point, you can pretty much consider the Las Vegas Raiders done. All right, Indianapolis ran 58 plays, 28 passes, and 30 runs. Pretty balanced. Vegas, 62 plays, 38 passes, 24 runs. Total yards were 415 for the Colts, 309 for the Raiders. Passing yards, favorite Las Vegas, 232-208. Rush yards, big edge to the Indianapolis Colts. And this is another team that has kind of abandoned the run this year, but not on Sunday. They had 207 yards to 77 for the Raiders. And listen to this. Indianapolis ran the ball at 6.9 yards per rush attempt. That's pretty good. The Colts had 20 total first downs to 18 for the Raiders. And through 10 games, Indianapolis has 190. While through 9 games, Vegas sits with 177. The Colts were 6 of 11 on third down, 54.5%, and 50 of 134 for the year. Raiders 5 of 13 on third down, 38.5%, and for the season so far, 41 of 108. So both are below 40% in third down conversions. We see the Colts at 37.3 and the Raiders at an even 38. No fourth down plays for the Colts, so they stay at 2 for 9. Raiders were 1 for 3, putting them at 10 of 17 for the season. All right, only 4 penalties for Indianapolis for 25 yards. They now have 51 for 412. Vegas had 10 penalties for 74 yards and 60 for 489 for the season. Time of possession is 30 minutes, 59 seconds for the Raiders, 29 minutes and 1 second for the Colts. Indy's defense records 40 tackles, 14 solos. Totals are 452 and 225. 2 sacks on Derek Carr in this game. That's 25 on the season. 0 fumbles. They stay at 6. 8 passes defended. They are now 33 in that category. And they remain with 4 interceptions after not recording one this week. The Raiders defense, 36 tackles, just 2 solo tackles. Totals are 387 and 150. 1 sack on the afternoon on Matt Ryan. Yes, Matt Ryan returned as the starter for Indianapolis and not Sam Ehlinger. So the Raiders sack total is now 10. Fewest in the NFL. 2 forced fumbles gives them 5. 4 passes defended brings them to 27. And no touchdowns or INTs, so they stay at 3 interceptions and 2 TDs. Closing line was Vegas minus 3.5, over under 41.5. I took the Raiders to win because usually they're good at home, but I don't know what the hell happened this week. And I took them to cover the point spread. I'm probably not taking the Raiders again this year after this latest debacle. So again, I ended up losing both the straight up and ATS picks. So that makes me 5-5 straight up and 4-6 against the spread. These numbers are horrible. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals at the LA Rams, the defending Super Bowl champs. And it's the visitors from Arizona who got the dub here, 27-17. All right, as far as power rankings go, the Saints were number 30 and the Steelers were 20. No, the Saints were number 29 and the Steelers were 28. The Colts were number 23 and the Raiders were number 20. And in this game, the Arizona Cardinals were number 25, the LA Rams number 16. Again, Arizona got the dub here, 27-17, I should say. 63 offensive plays for the Cardinals, 37-26 pass and run. 57 total plays for Los Angeles, 37-20 pass and run. So both teams had 37 passes in this game. 298 yards for the Cardinals, 256 for the defending champs. Passing yards favors the Cardinals, 220-190. Same with rushing yards, and there were very little in this one, 78-66. Both teams finished with 18 first downs. Neither team was good on third down. 5 of 15 for Arizona, 33.3%, and 48 of 138 for the year. 3 of 11 for LA for 27.2%, and 47 of 114 for the year. Both teams were perfect on fourth down. 3 of 3 for Arizona. That puts them 16 of 29 for the year. And 2 of 2 for the Rams, 7 of 9 on the year. All right, the Cardinals just continue to get hit with penalties. They had 11 of them this week for 73, putting them at 75 for 585 yards. Cardinals have 23 flags in the last 2 weeks. The Rams had just 4 flags for 23. They're at 36 for 331. So they are the least penalized team in the NFL when it comes to flags and penalty yards. Time of possession, 32 minutes and 1 second for Arizona, 27-59 for the reigning champs. Arizona's defense had 44 tackles, 30 solo. Totals are 441 and 226. They would sack James Wofford in this game 3 times. Wofford playing for the injured Matthew Stafford. Now the Cardinals' sack total is now at 19. They added their 10th fumble of the season, 6 passes defense. They're up to 46. And they added yet another interception. That's their 7th, that's their 7th interception, plus an NFL high 5 defensive touchdowns, 4 of them on pick sixes. LA's defense, 48 tackles, 24 solo. 375 and 153 are their totals in tackles. They had 2 sacks on Colt McCoy. Colt McCoy playing for an injured Kyler Murray. LA's sack total is now 18. They forced a fumble in this game, their 8th. 2 passes defensed in the game, that's 32. They stay at 5 interceptions after not recording one this week. Closing line was LA minus 3 over under 37.5. I took the Rams to win and cover. I lost both picks. So now I'm 5-6 straight up, 4-7 ATS. So yeah, this was a rough week, especially at the end of the week. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys at the Green Bay Packers. Mike McCarthy's revenge game as he returns to Lambeau Field for the first time after the Packers fired him and McCarthy became the Dallas head coach. Now, if you're talking about get right games, This was certainly one for the Green Bay Packers, especially Aaron Rodgers, who owns Dallas. Rodgers would throw 3 touchdown passes to Christian, and the Packers defeat the Cowboys in overtime 31-28. All right, 59 total plays for the Packers, 20 passes and 39 runs. Total yards are nearly evenly split. 421 for the Cowboys, 415 for the Packers. Dallas also had the edge through the air, 262-208. But it was a different story on the ground. The edge there goes to the Packers. 207 rushing yards for Green Bay to 159 for Dallas. First downs 24-20 for the Cowboys. 169 through 9 games. Green Bay has 198 through 10. The Cowboys were 5 of 15, and for the season, 52 for 113. Green Bay 6 of 13 on third down, 46.2%, and 48 for 119 for the year. Dallas finished 2 of 3 on fourth down. The Packers 1 for 1, and for the season, Cowboys are 6 of 11 on fourth. The Packers are 4 for 16. Okay, 9 penalties for the Cowboys for 83 yards rather. They have 64 penalties now, or 501 yards. 6 penalties for the Packers for 40 yards. Gives them 62 for 467. Time of possession, 35 minutes, 55 seconds for Green Bay, putting them in ball hawk territory, and that's the 5th team in ball hawk territory this week. 30 minutes, 59 seconds for Dallas. Cowboys defense, 52 tackles, 22 solo. Totals are 416 and 225. 2 more sacks on the afternoon on Aaron Rodgers. That brings their sack total to an NFL leading 35. 3 fumbles forced in this game. They're up to 11 now. They didn't have 1 pass defensed in the game, so they remain at 28. And no interceptions either, so they stay at 6. The Packers have 53 tackles, 28 solo. Totals are 424 and 207. They would sack Dak Prescott twice, bringing their total to 19. They forced a fumble on this one, their 5th of the year. 6 passes defense, gives them 34. 2 more interceptions pushes their total to 7 with 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line was Dallas -5 or Dallas -3.5. Over under was 44.5. I took Dallas to win this one 30-19 and to cover the points. I lost both picks. So yeah, I am crashing and burning here at this rate. 5 and 7 straight up, 4 and 8 ATS. That brings us to Sunday Night Football in the Los Angeles Chargers at the San Francisco 49ers, which the Niners would win 22-16. Give me just a second. This phone keeps acting up. Okay. And LA ran 53 offensive plays, 37 passes, and 16 runs. San Francisco, 69 plays, 28 passes, 41 runs. All right, total yards, 387 for the Niners, 238 for the Chargers. Passing and rushing yards both favored the Niners as well. 230 to 187 passing, 157 to 51 rushing. First downs also advantage San Francisco, 22 to 12. Okay, and through 9 games, the Niners have 180. The Chargers one below them at 179. LA 6 of 16 on third down, 37.5%. For the season, 57 of 138. Niners 9 of 17 on third down, 52.9%. And overall, 52 for 114. Fourth down plays, 0 for 1 for the Chargers, 8 of 19 on this season, 1 for 1 for the Niners, and 3 of 8 for the year. Just 1 penalty for the Chargers for 5 yards the entire night, their 47th penalty of the season, and 387 penalty yards. San Francisco had 5 penalties for 52 yards, and on the season, 56 for 410. Time of possession, 36 minutes, 59 seconds for the Niners, 23 minutes and 1 second for the Chargers. San Francisco is a ball hawk. Okay, Niners defense. Here it is. Or rather, the Chargers defense first. 49 tackles, only 1 solo. 386 and 184 is their totals. 1 sack on the night, 20th of the season. 1 fumble on the night, 7th of the season. No passes defensed, 29 total. No interceptions or touchdowns. They remain at 7 INTs. As for the Niners, 35 tackles, 16 solo. Totals are 366 and 164. 3 sacks on the night on Justin Herbert. That's 30 on the year. One fumble. That's 6 on the year. 7 passes defense. Hits them 38. And they added another interception. Their 7th to go along with 2 defensive touchdowns. Closing line was Niners -8, over under 45.5. I picked the Niners to win and cover, but the Niners won, but the Chargers covered, losing by just 6. So now I'm 6-7 straight up. And I'm down to 4-9 against the spread. And then our final game of the week is Monday Night Football, with the Washington Commanders finally putting an end to the Philadelphia Eagles' perfect season as they go into Lincoln Financial Field and upset the Eagles 32-21. And man, they had a fabulous game plan. All right, Washington ran 79 plays, 29 passes, and 50 runs on that Eagles defense. Philly's offense, 46 plays, 26 passes, 20 runs. Total yards, 330 for Washington, 264 for Philadelphia. Pass yards, 178 to 170 Washington. Rushing yards also favored Washington, 152 to 94. Same with first downs, 25 for the Commanders, 18 for the Eagles. Both teams were good on third down. 12 of 21 for the Washington Commanders at 57.1%. On the year, they're 52 for 138. 5 of 8 for the Eagles, 62.5%. They're now 59 of 117. Or rather, 55 of 117. Washington was 1 for 1 on fourth down. They're now 5 of 12 on the season. Philly, no fourth down plays. They stay at 12 of 16. 5 penalties for the Commanders for 58 yards. 57 total for 561. 7 penalties for Philadelphia, 75 yards. 50 total flags for 399. Time of possession favors the Washington Commanders. 40 minutes and 24 seconds versus 19:36 for the Eagles. And that puts Washington as ball hawks, and they will be our ball hawks of the week for week 10 as they possess the ball longer than any other team across the National Football League. Washington's defense records 28 tackles, 6 solo. Totals are 380 and 165. One sack on the night on Jalen Hurts. That's their 23rd of the year. Two fumbles in the game. On back-to-back drives in the second half, I may add, for the Eagles. That brings Washington to 5 forced fumbles. 3 passes defense gives them 42. And they added their 4th interception of the year. The Eagles defense, 56 tackles, 17 solo. 394 and 190 their totals. They would sack Taylor Heinicke, the Philadelphia defense. They also forced a fumble in this game, their 9th of the season. 5 passes defended gives them 53. And they too added an interception, their 13th, plus 1 defensive touchdown. Closing line was Philadelphia minus 10.5, and the over-under was 43. I obviously took the Eagles to win straight up 31-24, but fortunately, this is not all doom and gloom because I took Washington plus the 10.5 points. So you add that up, I finished the week 6-8 straight up and 5-9 against the point spread. Off this week were the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals, New England Patriots, and New York Jets. Okay, time now to update the NFL standings as we wind things down here on the week that was. And we'll start in the AFC. As the Ravens and Bengals, well, phone's not working again. I hate fighting with this thing. Trying to end this. Okay, there we go. Now we can tell you in the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens are 6-3. Cincinnati Bengals are 5-4. Both the Cleveland Browns and Pittsburgh Steelers sit 3-6. We have a new leader atop the AFC East, and it's the Miami Dolphins at 7-3. While both the New York Jets and Buffalo Bills are tied for second at 6-3. Tiebreaker would go to New York. And the New England Patriots are at 5-4. Oh, by the way, the Dolphins have won 4 in a row. All right, Tennessee Titans continue to lead the AFC South at 6-3. Indianapolis Colts now 4-5-1. Jacksonville Jaguars fall to 3-7. And the Houston Texans are 1-7-1. Then in the AFC West, my phone keeps acting up. There we go. The Kansas City Chiefs lead the AFC West at 7-2. They're 2 clear of the LA Chargers, who sit 5-4. Then it's the Denver Broncos at 3-6 and the Las Vegas Raiders at 2-7. Okay, this phone is really starting to get on my last nerve. Away with things at 8-1. The Green Bay Packers are back in second place at 4-6. Then it's the Detroit Lions at 3-6 and the Chicago Bears at 3-7. The Philadelphia Eagles took their first loss of the season, but they're still atop the NFC East at 8-1, with New York Giants just a game behind at 7-2, Dallas Cowboys 6-3, and the Washington Commanders at 5-5. In the NFC South, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 5-5, the Atlanta Falcons at 4-6, and the Carolina Panthers and New Orleans Saints both 3-7. Finally, in the NFC West, you got the Seattle Seahawks at 6-4, the San Francisco 49ers at 5-4, the Arizona Cardinals at 4-6, and the defending Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams, who are in big trouble right now, sitting at 3-6. And before we wrap things up, I want to talk to you now about the Week 11 power rankings, and there was some movement this week. None with the bottom two teams, however, with the Houston Texans staying at number 32 and the Chicago Bears staying at number 31. The New Orleans Saints and Carolina Panthers switched spots with each other, with the Saints moving down from 29 to 30 and the Panthers moving up from 30 to 29. Number 28 is the Jacksonville Jaguars, down from 27. Number 27 is the Cleveland Browns, down from 24. Number 26, the Pittsburgh Steelers, up from 28. Number 25, the Denver Broncos, down from 22. Number 24 is the Las Vegas Raiders, down from 20. Number 23, the Detroit Lions, up from 26. Number 22 is the Arizona Cardinals, up from 25. Number 21, the Indianapolis Colts, up from 23. Number 20 is the Atlanta Falcons, down from 18. Number 19, the Los Angeles Rams, down from 16. Number 18, the Green Bay Packers, up from 19. Number 17 is the Seattle Seahawks, down from 15. Number 16, the Los Angeles Chargers, down from 14. Biggest jump goes to the Washington Commanders at number 15, up from 21. Number 14 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, up from 17. Number 13 is the Tennessee Titans, holding steady in the same spot. Numbers 12 and 11 switch spots. The New York Jets moved to 12, down from 11, while the Bengals moved to 11, up from 12. And then the New England Patriots at 10, Miami Dolphins at 9, Baltimore Ravens at 8, and the New York Giants at 7, all stay in the same spot that they were in last week. Number 6 is the Dallas Cowboys, down from 5. Number 5 is the Buffalo Bills, down from 3. Number 4 is the San Francisco 49ers, up from 6. Number 3 is the Minnesota Vikings, up from 4. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles, down from 1. So that means we have a new number 1 team, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs, up from number 2. And that is it for this Week 10 edition of the week that was. All the statistical numbers from week number 10 in the NFL, plus the updated NFL standings, and my Week 11 power rankings. Again, point totals and point spreads are courtesy of the Sports Alerts app. Get it in the Apple Play Store or the Google Play Store. And we will update the standings again with the playoff races in both conferences. That's when I make my picks on Thursday. So that video is coming out in a couple days. Stay tuned for that. But I will be back late night tonight with the latest college football rankings, the AP and coaches poll, and the third edition of the college football playoff rankings. That's coming up later tonight, as is the Week 12 college football schedule and the broadcast teams for every game. So make sure you join me tonight, probably sometime after midnight Eastern time, 9 p.m. Pacific. In the meantime, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Ring the bell and get notified every time I go live. Big Al signing off. Thanks for watching and enjoy the pigskin. Peace out.